it's Letitia again. I'm actually filming and it hasn't been like 5 months since my last video, so getting there. I jokes. I'm excited. This is the second episode of the All of the Yarn podcast. So I don't know if I mentioned it, but I think I did in like the description of the video, but the first episode of the podcast was filmed in March, and that was like a really long time ago. It's now July, so I know I want to do it monthly, and I'm gonna really try my best to get it done from now, like have like a monthly like update. What I want to talk about this podcast is just like my delving into knitting and all the stuff I bought. So I'm really excited because I really wanted to have like an entire podcast dedicated to this because it actually consumes so much of my life. And I know I touched on it in the first episode, but yeah, I fully fell down the knitting rabbit hole and I bought a bunch of stuff and I started learning to knit again. So I just wanted to tell you like what I've been up to and what I bought, and maybe like show you a bunch. So yeah, this is where I keep all of my crochet and my knitting tools. It's great. One of my best friends packaged my birthday gift in this, and honestly it's like an adjacent gift because it just hides the chaos that's inside. So wonderful chaos. So yeah, I when I first started getting into knitting again, and remember I did start knitting ages ago, like a decade ago. I basically only knit scarves, so it wasn't like I was like particularly like aiming for the stars there. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to teach myself the same things that I could do for crochet, for knitting. And so before I slept, like every single night, I'd like try to learn a new knitting style or watch reviews on like knitting needles or how to quickly knit or how to quickly purl. Eventually, like just through the sheer amount of reviews and like how many people had such great things to say about it, I settled on buying the Chiaogoo knitting needle set. And this is the 13 centimeter or 5-inch set. And I bought the small and the large, so it is the complete set. Because I like to have sets, you know. I definitely could have bought like one size at a time and like built a collection, but it's cheaper to buy a set, obviously, and the packaging is nice and everything you need comes with it. If I was going to do this like for long term, I wanted everything before I started. And I think like when you're knitting or crocheting, like your tools are so important and they make you want to carry on. If you have like bad tools or something that you don't like working with, it almost makes you not want to knit or not crochet for the day because you're just like, ugh, this ain't fun. It kind of destroys the experience. So I took a chance and I got the Chiaogoo complete set. So these are interchangeable needles, which means you attach a cable to them and they make a circular needle. If you attach like different lengths of cables to the same set of needles, you'll get like longer, shorter circular needles, which is pretty cool. And then I guess you can also change the needle sizes with using the same cable. Let's say you're knitting a sweater and the body calls for like larger needles than the ribbing. You could like easily just change the needles on the cable and switch it out and knit with the new needles, which is pretty cool, right? So it's almost like an all-inclusive system. So you don't have to buy a bunch of different circular needles, and you can just like use this and make, you know, at least 3 different types of circular needles for one needle size. I hope that makes sense. And so this is the full set. So it comes with the small set of needles. And the small set of needles are from 2.75 to 5 millimeters. It does skip the 3 millimeter. And they're considered the small needles by Chiaogoo. And then it also comes with size 5.5 to 10, skipping size 7. And they're considered the larger needles. And why that's important is that unlike many other interchangeable needle brands, as far as I've seen and researched and watched reviews, the cables that are attached to them depend on like whether they're small or large. So it comes with 6 sets of cables, 3 small, 3 large. So it comes in 35 centimeters, 55 centimeters, and 75 centimeter cables. And you must remember that when you're sizing the whole big circular needle, you also have to take into account the size of the needles. So I have 13 centimeter needles, which is 26 centimeters in total. Lots of math, I know. Knitting has a lot of math, guys, okay? Knitting and crocheting, to be honest. So in effect, it makes 61 centimeters, 81 centimeters, and 101 centimeter needles. Which you can round down, you know, because most patterns call for 60 or 80 or 100. So it doesn't really matter. And then similarly for the large needles, it's exactly the same size. So it also comes with like a needle size ruler, some stitch markers in different sizes, so some small ones and some big ones, depending on what size you need. And then it comes with a bunch of like other additional things that you actually do need for your needles. So end stoppers, so these end stoppers, I'm not going to take it out of the plastic, hopefully you can see. These end stoppers are good for, like, let's say you're using 4mm needles to make a sweater. And so it's on your cable and you're knitting and you're happy and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to make another vest now. And you're like, oh no, but it's on the cable, what am I going to do? Then you can just put the cable stoppers at the end of the cable you're not using, and then use another cable and then the 4mm with that cable, and then make your vest. And then it comes with these keys for tightening the needles to the cable. And then this rubber thingy I bought separately. It comes in the mini set, I think, which I don't have, and it just like helps you to tighten the needle to the cable. Anyway, so I just wanted to show you how I would like make a needle. And I'm just going to do one because I mean all of them are exactly the same. So my trusty 5mm. So then, as I said before, I would use the small set of needles. I would use the small set of cables with it. So I have my cable and I have my needles, and what you do is you're basically just screwing it. Easy peasy. Probably should do this one at a time, not with both in the same hand, but yeah, easy peasy. Now you must remember that if you don't screw this properly and while you're knitting it opens up, your stitches are going to drop. So it is very important that you screw this pretty tightly, and that's why they give you the key, and that's why they give you that's why I bought the rubber stoppy thing. So let me take out a key and try not to. It's not a key, it's called a T-pin. Why do I think it's called a key? Well, it's either a T-pin or a key. I don't actually know the name of things, I just use it. So now can you see there's a hole there? So you basically put it in the hole like that, and then you hold it like, oh my god. So then you hold it, and then what I do is I hold the other side with the rubber so you have more grip, and then you kind of push it down, and can you see it like tightens it way more than you would have been able to without it, and that really prevents like your needle from coming off and unscrewing easily, which is really important, as I said before. So yeah, I mean, quite a cool system, really excited by it. I've had circular needles before. I'm putting things in the wrong place and it'll make me crazy later. I've had circular needles before, but like fixed cheap ones that I got from my time while I was in Korea, from Daiso. I think I showed it in the, obviously now I can't open it. I think I'm gonna need, yeah, okay. For the side where I use the T-pin and the rubber heart, I won't be able to unscrew it myself. So you kind of have to just do it the opposite way. It's so simple when you have it in. So the whole system works like pretty effortlessly and easy. I like the way these needles feel. They're metal and they're slick, and I like slick like needles for crochet and for knitting, because for me, like, my tension's always tight. So that's why something like bamboo wouldn't work well with me, because then I'd just be struggling, and I don't like it. I like the stitches to glide off. Yeah, some people don't like metal needles because like the stitches slip off while they're knitting, but honestly, I love them, and it just increases the pace of my knitting like so significantly. And also it doesn't hurt my hands as much as like bamboo needles. I haven't used treated bamboo or laminated like birchwood or anything before, so maybe that would be better. But for me, these metal needles, amazing. And because they're also not laminated, or they don't have like that finish that some metal needles do, it's not too slick, so there's some resistance. So that's why I think it's kind of perfect for me. Some resistance, but not too much. And because I am who I am, I also got the Chiaogoo shorties. Yeah. So these are when you want to knit small circumference projects, and it's kind of important to be able to do that. Like if I want to knit a sleeve, I don't want to do magic loop. I don't really want to learn magic loop. It also seems like a lot of work. So that's why I bought circular needles, because I know I can do it well in circular, and I think it would be pretty easy and quick if I'm not like moving the stitches around in magic loop. But maybe in the future I'd be like, oh my god, that was the worst decision ever. Magic loop's so easy, Letitia. Why didn't you just do magic loop, girl? But for now, I bought the shorty sets, and they're so cute. They work exactly the same way. They're interchangeable. The red set is basically like a sock needle set. So it has really mini needles. So look, like they're tiny. Look at it. So I don't think I mentioned this before, but like when you're knitting in the round, it's super important that like your entire fixed needle that you're creating with your interchangeable needles and the cable is smaller than the circumference of whatever you're knitting. So let's say you're making a sweater that is 75 centimeters in the round. I don't know why, right? Like if you look at your waist, it's 75 centimeters, so that's what you're making. That's your sweater size. You would then use the 60 centimeter like needle. Do you understand? So also like the way that knitting works is that you can bunch up the stitches so you can make sure that it all fits. But yeah, because it's much harder to like stretch out the stitches and work it that way. So they're really small, and what's different between like these ones and like the big set is that you actually get two different lengths of the same size. So the sizes only range from like 2 millimeters to 3.25 millimeters, but you get needle length size 5 centimeters and 8 centimeters. But they like, look at these. This is insane. Wait, I should actually show you the small baby one, like the smallest size in the smallest length. Look at this. This is a needle. Wow. So yeah, so it's great for knitting socks or mittens or baby hats, I don't know, like with really fine yarn. And I really want to learn how to knit socks. I don't know why, but I really do. So yeah, it also comes with cables. It comes with cable sizes 13, 15, and 20. And so you can then choose like what you need to make a sock depending on the circumference of your ankle and your calf, etc. And then it also comes with like a gauge ruler and like a bunch of accessories. So the really tiny like T-pins, the end stoppers, and some really small mini stitch markers. Yeah, so if I do want to knit socks with these, I do need something else for the heels, which makes me really upset because these are smaller than what I have in here. Well, I think they overlap with the 2.75. So I have a 2.75 in here. So if I'm gonna knit socks in 2.75, I do have that. Because I think for the heel, you need to use either like DPNs, double pointed needles, or you need to use, what's the other thing called? Magic loop. And I don't have mini needles. I have the small needles and the large needles. I don't have the sock needle set. So I don't have the mini needles, but I feel like I will buy them as I need them. So if I need like a 2 millimeter or 2.25 millimeter needle. I think I'll just buy it as needed. So I'm not too stressed by that. And I don't think I'm going to be knitting socks anytime soon, just because I don't know, I feel like I need to master knitting before I get there. But I think it would be really fun to knit regardless. The blue shorties is basically the same. I'm missing one set because I'm using them now. So they have the 5 centimeter length and the 8 centimeter length, but it is thicker needles. So they range from size 3.5 all the way up to 5. So these would be really great for hats. I'm using one for a hat now, or sleeves if you're using like DK yarn, etc. Makes your life so much easier, right? These also come with cables of the same length as I mentioned before, and the accessories and a gauge ruler. So very similar. So there's basically like a mini set and a small set. So this is a small set of needles. And I saw the other day, so I have the red one and the blue one. I saw the other day on my favorite yarn store, the Yarn Room, that they're making a yellow set with sizes from 5.5 to 8. Wow. So yeah, but that's only coming out later in this year, so it's future Letitia's problem. So yeah, these are my Chiaogoo sets, and I love them so. And you know, we're investing in our hobbies, okay? Because interesting people have interests, and sometimes you have to invest in your interests, and this was my greatest investment so far. But super worth it, super love it, and really happy with it. So I did mention that the Chiaogoo set only goes up to size 10, and I bought yarn not realizing that it required size 12 or 15 millimeter needles. And also just because in general life, like if I want to double yarn or knit like really chunky stuff or things like that, I would need these needles anyway, so I don't feel too bad for it. And it also means I have like a wide set of needles, so I can make a variety of projects. Anyway, long story short, I ended up buying these Knit Pro Symphony needles in a size 12 and 15. I think they're 13 centimeter needles. Pretty nice, very pretty. They are laminated birchwood that is treated, so apparently it's supposed to still be slick even though they're wood needles. So I bought the cables to make 60, 80 and 100 centimeter circular needles. For Knit Pro, all of the cables work for any size of needle, so that's makes it a little easier. And it does come with end stoppers and like a key as well, to make it easy to use. Yeah, I'm happy with all the purchases I made. So as I said before, I might need some mini needles to supplement my set, and then I might need the yellow Chiaogoo shorties just in case I want to make like a chunky sweater. And I really don't want to learn magic loop, guys. I don't know why this is a technique that I'm so against making, but it just seems like so much time because you have to push the stitches around and move things. And maybe I'm wrong. For the knitting people, please tell me if I'm wrong. And it's super easy and I'm making something out of nothing. But it's actually really fun knitting something in a circle because it goes so quickly, because it just keeps going. There's no like front or back, you know. Yeah, so I did start knitting already. When I got the set, I was so excited. So I did, sorry about the lighting. It's just natural light. I think the sun is starting to set, even though it's bang afternoon right now. I don't know why the sun is doing this. Maybe I should move. I'm lazy, so hopefully it turns out fine in the video. I feel like really comfortable with crochet now, and I know that I can make increases and decreases easily. I can make different shapes. I can make, you know, I don't know, 3D things. I can do quite a bit with crochet, and I'm comfortable with it, but it is easier. And with knitting, like making increases and stuff, like honestly, each one is different and you have to really think about it. So it is a little more harder than with crochet, where you just put 2 stitches in the same thing and then call it an increase. I made a plan to get myself really good at knitting, and the first step was to learn how to knit again. So as with everybody, I knit a scarf. It is a 1x1 rib, and super stretchy because it's a rib. And I got really comfortable knitting again, and I was happy with it. There are some mistakes here, especially like with the ends. Like I found that the ends were hard. Sometimes they were too loose, but I'm trying to like watch videos, try to fix those mistakes that I'm making. But I mean, the scarf is for me, and that's okay if there's mistakes. We learn from our mistakes. And yeah, I like the colorway. This is a really nice yarn, so the pattern didn't have to be too intricate, which is nice. I feel like the fabric it creates is also so much softer and wonderful and just lovely. So super happy with that. So I learned to knit flat again, is basically what I'm saying. But like just basic rectangle flat. So with no increases, no decreases, just the basics, right? My second step towards improving my knitting skill from basic beginner is to knit something in the round. So these are the shorties that I told you that weren't in my set. So you can see the blue cable, and they're the size 3.75, and I'm knitting a hat. I've only been doing this for a week and I got this far. It was even nicer to knit this than the scarf because you're not turning your work around. You're basically like just flowing the whole time, and it's so nice. And I really enjoyed, like I really enjoyed making this. And I realized how much I really enjoy knitting in the round, which bodes well for when I want to make a sweater, right? Right? That's what I think. I learned to knit flat, basic stitches also in the round. And that was my second step towards becoming great at knitting. And then my third step, and what I'm going to do next, is learn increases and decreases. Well, I'm going to have to learn decreases here. So as I like make the top of it, I'm going to start learning how to decrease. So that also, I guess, fades into my second step. But then for the third step, more increases and decreases, what I think I'm going to do is either knit mittens, like to go with this. So I'm gonna just make a set of things, which I think is wonderful. Yes. Or I'm gonna knit a triangular shawl, like a V, and then learn how to do increases there. And I think I'm a little intimidated by increases more than decreases, because with increases you have to pick up stitches sometimes from the bottom, like from the row below, which in my brain I'm like, how do you see that? This next skill that I want to learn, so my step 4 is cable knitting. So I think cable knitting is beautiful, and it makes the best jerseys, right? And I think they're so pretty. So I'm gonna make probably maybe like just to start, like to make a hat, or maybe I'll make like cable mittens. I don't know yet. So something really small and basic, where I learn like basic cables and get comfortable with like using a cable needle. Oh, I also bought cable needles. I forgot about those. I do have some cheapy cable needles that I got with my cheapy crochet set that I bought ages ago. But look at these ones. They're cable needles, and they have like little indentations, and they're size 3.25, 4 millimeters, and 5.5. So I think you can use them for like a variety of needle sizes. So I don't think it's like it's only for those sizes. So I definitely want to get used to knitting with cable needles, or maybe like try to make cables without the cable needles. Obviously that's more advanced, but yeah, I want to learn how to make cables, and because I think they make the most beautiful jerseys and cardigans, and I think it adds that 3D element and that textural, like just like greatness that makes your knitting look like a little more advanced and like aesthetically pleasing. And then where are we now? What step are we? Okay, I think that was 4. So step 5, I want to learn stranded colorwork, or any type of colorwork. So Fair Isle, and Taja, what is the other one? Tapestry. So any type of colorwork. Obviously I'll start with something very easy and small, so maybe like a hat or a cowl, because that can be knit quite quickly in the round, and It looks really nice. Obviously the whole point would be then to be able to knit like those sweaters where the top of like the collar is like color work and then it fades into like a single color sweater. I think those are so pretty and I want to do it. Also colorwork socks, sick. Maybe I'll just like learn how to do colorwork with socks. So the things I want to make like while I'm learning these skills would be a scarf, a hat, doing that, mittens, probably gonna do that, shawl, probably gonna do that, a cowl, which is basically like a scarf in the round. But I feel like I'm gonna bump up like making a raglan sweater quite soon after I finish. So I think I'm gonna learn increases and then I'm gonna just dive into a raglan sweater and just try my best and do it. Like a one color, as easy as I can find, pattern raglan sweater. Because I mean, with that, like it was so easy for me to do it in crochet, and I feel like the thinking behind it is very similar. You're just starting with a loop and then you're increasing and then you're dividing it and then you're knitting in the round sleeves, you're knitting in the round body. So I think I'll be able to do it. So I think that might push ahead of like cable knitting and colorwork knitting, because I do want to learn how to make garments. That was my whole point of starting knitting. I think the texture of knitting is so nice and soft and it drape is so much better than with crochet. So I also want to learn to knit a vest, but I think that will come with time, just naturally, and I will move around the steps as needed. I'm really enjoying knitting and learning how to knit, and it's been much less frustrating than the other times, because for some reason, when I first learned how to knit, I didn't learn like how to fix your mistakes, like using a crochet hook to, like if you dropped a stitch, you can use a crochet hook to like fix that. So I remember I used to like pull out all my knitting to fix that stitch, which is crazy now that I think of it. But yeah, there's a lot of information online and I'm learning so much about like fixing mistakes and making things neater and better, but I think it will come with time and with practice. But I've been enjoying it. Also, I completely forgot about this. I bought these knitting books. I remember like seeing them, like watching videos where people reviewed knitting books and like the ultimate ones to buy. And this one is so pretty. It is the Vogue knitting, the ultimate knitting book. And it's like huge and it has like the nicest pictures and explanations inside. I don't know if you can see. So they teach you like a bunch of, they teach you about yarns, they teach you about simple stitches, and the pictures are so lovely. How to knit cables, how to change colors. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they give you a bunch of patterns at the end. Look, I actually didn't even know some of these things. I should start reading this for real. I've just been like knitting the most basic things. It's almost like it's like your everything knitting book, you know. It's so expansive in the explanation. It has everything that I need to start knitting. If I want to learn a new stitch, like I can go onto YouTube, but I can also like just pull out this book and look at it. And then because I am me, I bought the Harry Potter knitting magic book, and it has like a bunch of patterns. It has like making like you know, like toys like the Cornish pixie or Hedwig, and then like making jumpers. So basically like sweaters like the Mrs. Weasley, like the Ron sweater, or Hogwarts scarves, or I don't know, just a bunch of cowls and stuff. Let's open to a random page. Oh, this is so look at this, these dueling mitts. Even just like as is, that is so pretty. Oh my word, there is, because it's so pretty, and the pictures are again really nice, and it gives you all of the details. Look, like a pullover. What is this? Owl post pullover. So sometimes it's like patterns that they made from Harry Potter inspiration. So still so cool. Because I watched Tiffany Liu, and she really got me into knitting, because like honestly, it was so nice to hear her speak about like all the knitting things that she's been doing and what she's been learning, what she's been buying. And I really got interested in knitting from watching her videos. And she recommended, I think she recommended this book, like the 52 Weeks of Socks, even though I don't know when I'm gonna knit my first sock, by Lane. She, I think, recommended this like 20 times, and I by chance came across it on Takealot and I purchased it like immediately, and I'm so happy I did because I think they took it off the store now. So yeah, and it's so aesthetic. So there's like cable patterns, there's like lace socks, there's like basic ones. They like compiled like the socks from a bunch of different designers, and I think it's so nice and so cool. And so when I want to eventually start knitting socks, I think this will come in so handy. A lot of people have said that like knitting socks is something that they just have on the go, so they have like a project and then a sock, and I think that's really cool. Before I go, just an update on like the projects that I've been working on. So I did post a video, I'll link it somewhere here, about the sweater and hat combination that I made in a week. So fun to make. The raglan sweater was like one of my favorite things that I've ever crocheted. So easy and lovely, and the process was so nice, and I just, you know, it was such a good week. I have been working on my friend's cardigans. I know in the last episode I said I was going to finish it in 2 weeks. That was impossible. And then I also like really struggled to know how to make the ribbing. I learned how to do it in the raglan sweater video, but prior to that I didn't know how to make ribbing so that it was cinched in, and for the cuffs as well. So it stressed me out a bit, and I kind of put it on a pause, but I picked it up and I finished. For the hers version, I finished everything and I seamed it together, besides for the braiding and the cuffs, so I'm gonna still do that. And for the his version, I finished everything. I just need to bead in the ends and seam it together, and then braiding and the cuffs. So almost done, which is crazy. Yeah, love it for me. I'm also working on the hat, as I showed you. Those are things I'm working on. I wanna start making some amigurumi, so I think those are gonna be my next projects, and maybe some other gifts that I'm thinking of. Super keen on it though. And finally, I do wanna shout out Clay Crochet. So this is not sponsored. I did pay for these with my money rands. But I just wanna show you how incredibly cute this is, because I literally die. Okay, not literally, but look how absolutely adorable this is. Look, just like, my favorite colors are like yellow and purple, and she like kind of themed it to that, and I'm really so obsessed with it. So I'm definitely not going to use it. I'm going to keep it as like a cute like decorative mug on my shopper mugs, which I'm starting. Apparently I'm collecting mugs now. And honestly, she's such a nice person. She like kept me up to date the entire time, and she like asked me what I liked and what I didn't like. And honestly, I didn't go in like knowing. I saw that she made that mug before, and I was like, oh my god, I want one. And then I wanted some stitch markers, and I didn't really go in knowing like what type of stitch marker I wanted. I just wanted a bunch of different ones, and she sent me 2 like extra ones as well. But oh, I can't show this properly. Can you see? Can you, you know what? Let me do it one at a time. Look at this bear. What? So cute. And like, my favorite, as you would imagine, is this tiger. Insane. Frog. I know, I'm like it's so much time. Look at this bee. I die. Oh my god. So she is incredibly talented, and she hand makes them all herself, and I think she's the coolest. And so yeah, support small South African businesses, guys, if you can and if you're able to. And I will definitely I'll link her Facebook page in the I'm getting blind. I'm like trying to dodge the sun. Is this why I box? No, I'm joking. Hello everybody. So this is Editing Letitia, and I realized that I forgot to discuss my style of knitting, because there's quite a few styles that are popular right now. So when I first started knitting, I learned this style, and it's called throwing. So you basically like put the needle into the stitch, and then you yarn over, and you like basically just remove your hand from the right needle, and then you complete the stitch. And then similarly for the purl stitch, you're doing the same thing. You're every time you need to move the yarn, you're letting go of the right needle. And I think that it slows down your knitting so considerably. So my knitting, when I used to do it in the past, used to be really, really slow. And it would take me weeks to make like a scarf. And I think it was just because of how I learned, and I never improved on speed, because in my opinion, and this is just my opinion because I know there are some really fast throwers, in my opinion, I can't do this quickly. So I wanted to learn the really popular knitting method right now, which is continental knitting. Now, because I crochet, I got really comfortable with holding the yarn in my left hand. And so I thought continental knitting would be easy for me. It was not. Knitting, like the actual knit stitch, is not too bad, but with purling, like you have to use like another finger to put the yarn forward so it doesn't like make extra stitches, and I don't know, like I was just not good at it, and it was quite cumbersome for me. And I think like I dropped so many stitches using this because I wanted to keep the stitches really close to the end of the needle so that it was easier and quicker to knit. And it was so hard. And I'm not left-handed, and it was very visible that I wasn't. And maybe I'll get better at this in the future, and I'll keep trying now and again. I think it would work well for just like stockinette stitches in the round, or just plain knit stitches. But wow, doing rib with continental knitting was so incredibly difficult, and I really, really, really didn't like it. So then I thought, and I found this on the internet, as I do. YouTube is your friend. I found flicking, which is like the best of both worlds in my opinion. So with flicking, you're keeping your yarn in your right hand, but you're not letting go of the right needle as you would with throwing. Instead, you're basically using your index finger to do the yarn overs and to complete the stitches. And it gives you a lot more control because for me, because I'm right-handed, like all of the motion is done with your dominant hand. And I think also like the motion is very similar between knit and purl. You just have to make sure that, you know, your yarn is in the front for a purl and in the back for a knit stitch. I also think that like for more complicated stitches, it would work really well as well, because I'll be able to see the stitches easier. And I think this entire method just makes me feel more in charge of my knitting, and it allows me to keep tension like really even throughout. So I decided that instead of like really like learning how to knit continental from the beginning, I should rather get much faster with flicking. I know flicking is slower than continental knitting, but for me, having that additional control works much more in my favor, and I've really enjoyed doing it so much more, and using this technique has really served me well. So this is my technique of choice for now. That is, it could change in the future, who knows. Anyway, I've really enjoyed this entire process of like learning how to knit and making things and just learning a new fiber art style. I think it's so fun to learn something new all the time. I'm really that person, and super keen on making new things and keeping on with my knitting journey, and I will take you on with me. So I'll let you know as I complete things and go through my list of skills so that I become great at knitting, because I will. That is my goal, to become great at knitting. And yeah, I'm so keen. And I did buy a bunch of yarn, which I think I will show you in next month's podcast. So look forward to that. Let me know what you think of the things I've bought, and if you think I should learn any other skills that I might have missed out. You know, I'm obviously a beginner, and the list of skills that I said is just like based on, you know, watching other knitting videos and see what they've done, and like seeing the patterns that people make, and you know what skills I would need to make those patterns. And yeah, I'm really like, I'm keen to hear what you think, and if I should master any other skills, so let me know. And yeah, so thank you again so much for watching. Super appreciate it. If you want to go tell your friends that there's this girl on the internet who like chats too much about knitting and crochet and like yarn and stuff, feel free to do that. But until then, I will see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.